You're listening to the Economics and Country Risk podcast from S&P Global Market Intelligence. In each episode, our experts will provide you with the where, how, and when to make decisions that transform your business.
If you're a chocolate lover like me, you probably eat up headlines declaring how good it is for your health. You may also get alarmed by news stories of supply shortages or disruptions. You may also wonder, where are the cocoa trees and where does the final chocolate product come from? And is the appetite for chocolate the same in all regions of the world? I'm Kristen Hallam, lead content strategist for Global Intelligence and Analytics at S&P Global Market Intelligence, and your host for this episode of the Economics and Country Risk podcast. Joining me to discuss this delicious topic are my colleagues from Market Intelligence, Anna Rybicka, Senior Economist, Trade Forecasting, and Agnieszka Maciejewska, Economic Associate Director, Trade Forecasting. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you both for being here. Anna, this is a really fun way to explore the treasure trove of trade data that we have. What inspired you to look at the trade? Are you a chocolate lover like me?
Yes, I am a chocolate lover, but I was also inspired by the documentary I watched on internet. It was about cocoa farming on Ivory Coast, and I got some idea of how cocoa is grown, cultivated, harvested. I learned that the cocoa fruits are eaten in Africa where it's grown, but the local people very rarely know the taste of the final product, the chocolate itself, and it triggered my curiosity. I was curious if the data that we have here confirm this geographical gap between our consumers and farmers and how the trade looks.
So tell us a little bit about the data that you used for your report.
I looked at the trade data from 2022 and 2023, and I split the chocolate products into two categories: raw materials and finished products. So raw materials consist of cocoa beans, cocoa paste, cocoa butter, fat and oil, cocoa powder, and cocoa byproducts, while finished products are chocolate in bulk form, so blocks, slabs, or bars, and not in bulk form, such as assorted chocolates, also cocoa powder with sugar or sweeteners, so hot chocolate, yeah, filled chocolate products, not filled chocolate products. And apart from that, I also checked the forecast for chocolate trade till 2040 and compared the trend with chocolate competitors, so sugar confectionery and coffee.
All right. I look forward to hearing more about that forecast. But Agnieszka, would you be able to tell us more about some of the other categories of sweets using those data that Anna just described?
Yes, yes, of course. We have the data from the whole world in the database GTAS within the S&P Global, and we are able to look at, for example, sugar confectionery that do not include cocoa. And I was very interested in that after I read the article that Anna prepared about chocolate. And I was curious who is exporting sweets. It wasn't very surprising for me as a jelly bean lover. So Germany is exporting a whole lot of jelly confectionery, but also toffees and caramels, which surprised me a little bit. On the
Mm.
second place of sweets exports would be China, then Belgium, where it's not jelly, it's white chocolate. I know that Belgium is also exporting cocoa preparations and chocolate, but white chocolate, marzipan, nougat is also there very popular as an export material. Mexico, white chocolate exporter. Then when we are looking still at European countries, Netherlands and Spain and also Turkey are exporting some kind of jelly and jelly beans and fruit jellies, so the other kinds of sweets. And as I am based in Poland, I was very glad to see Poland on the position number 8. And Poland is exporting pastes, marzipan, and nougat. I think that Anna will tell us a little bit more about the position of Poland as a traditional chocolate exporter. So let's hear about it. But I love nougat, I love jelly beans, and I know where to get it right now.
And you said marzipan. Oh, I love marzipan
Yeah.
too. So, Anna, who are the major players in the trade of raw materials for chocolate?
So the top 5 exporters of cocoa beans include Ivory Coast, Ghana, Ecuador, Nigeria, and Cameroon, and they accounted for 79% of the global trade in 2022 and 85% in 2023. This indicates a significant concentration of cocoa resources. Ivory Coast itself held the largest stake of 46 in 2023. And what's important, almost 77% of cocoa beans or export originated from Africa in 2023. The only non-African country among the top 5 exporters was Ecuador, and the rest are from Africa.
And who would be the biggest importers of the raw materials for chocolate?
So it starts with Netherlands, then it's followed by Germany, Malaysia, the USA, and Belgium.
I'm not surprised to see the Netherlands and Belgium on that list, but Malaysia is interesting. What is the story there?
There are at least 2 reasons for that. The first reason is that Malaysia acts as a local exporter of cocoa beans in Asia. So it exported more than 278k tons of cocoa beans in 2023. And it exports primarily to Singapore, Indonesia, and Korea. So it acts as a local hub. And it also exports final chocolate products. In 2023, it was 145k tons. And it is also mainly to Singapore. The second place is taken by Australia, Indonesia, and China. However, there is also another reason for that situation. The local cocoa forests are shrinking. So Kuala Lumpur is surrounded by cocoa forests. However, those forests are being replaced by palm oil and durian plantations. But still, there is this very strong local cocoa processing industry. So to keep it going, Malaysia needs to import cocoa beans.
That definitely makes sense now. And if we look at other categories of sweets, who would be the biggest importer of sugar and where are they taking it from, Agnieszka?
Well, the biggest importer of sugar is United States. But as we can see, they do not have to be the biggest producer of sweets. So this may be for consumption, and it may be not for sweets. It may be for drinks or beverages. The other importers that I checked and were on top of the list were Indonesia and China, and then there was Italy. But as a source of this sugar, we may have a problem. Those countries may have a problem because, for example, Indonesia and China were taking majority of sugar from India till 2022. And in 2022, due to the first restriction of sugar export from India was introduced, which was extended in October 2023, and it is concerning the sugar cane. Well, Anna was mentioning the change in agriculture, the change in the foresting and lacks in Malaysia. While here, the lack of rainfall caused the much smaller harvest of a sugarcane in India. That's why the government decided to put in the restrictions and sugarcane may not be exported that extensively. That is a threat for us, Kristen, I think, because it is threatening the sweets production in the long term.
Oh no.
Climate change is dangerous for sweet lovers.
Bad for my sweet tooth. Okay.
Yeah.
That's one way to make it very salient for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Agnieszka. Now let's talk about the stuff that we actually eat, the finished chocolate products. Who are the biggest exporters of the finished chocolate product? I imagine it's some of the same countries that import the raw materials, right, Anna?
Yes, that's right. To a very large degree, it's the same countries. So the list starts with Germany, Belgium, Canada, Poland, Netherlands, the US, Italy, France, Turkey, and Mexico. So it is dominated by European countries. There are some differences between the top importers of raw materials and exporters of the chocolate final products. While we have Netherlands, Germany, and Belgium who are present in the top 5 exporters, both as raw materials importers and chocolate products exporters, we also have Canada and Poland, which ranked the 3rd and 4th in the chocolate products exporters list, but they are not ranked as top raw materials importers. This can be explained because Poland imports cocoa beans mainly from the Netherlands and Germany, while Canada imports them from the USA. So still the supply chains are in place, right? And it's important to note also that Europe leads as a region, accounting for 54% of global export of final and semi-final chocolate products. But it's immediately followed by North American countries, including the US, Canada, and Mexico. And there is no single Asian country among the top 10 exporters of final chocolate products, with mainland China ranking only 19th in 2023.
So we've got most of the raw material coming from Africa, most of the finished product coming from Europe, although I'm glad to see the US on that list because that's where I sit. I didn't hear you say Switzerland, and that is definitely a country that leaps to mind when you think of chocolate. One of my favorite brands actually comes from Switzerland. Why isn't Switzerland on that list?
Yeah, that's a phenomenon. Switzerland has the largest chocolate consumption per capita in the world, but it is at the same time outside of the top 10 exporters ranking, placing 11th in 2023. And the average Swiss citizen consumes almost 12 kilograms of chocolate per year, while, for example, Chinese only 200 grams. So Switzerland has a huge internal consumption per capita.
So they're keeping all the good stuff inside the country is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
All right. Just have to go to Switzerland then. And who are the biggest importers of chocolate products? Or should I say, where do you see the biggest appetite for those imports, Anna?
Yes, so the top single importer of chocolate products is the USA. However, the largest importing region is Europe, and there we have an Asian representative in the top 10 importers list. This is Japan. That is
Oh.
ranked 10th.
And what about cocoa powder used to make hot chocolate? You mentioned that earlier. Where do you see the biggest trade in that commodity?
So in cocoa powder containing added sugar and other sweeteners, the top exporter is South Korea, while the top importer is Japan. It seems that the hot chocolate's main component is received and sent from Asia, but there is also a very strong bilateral trade between those two countries. So Korea exports cocoa powder with sugar mainly to Japan, and Japan imports mainly from South Korea. It is related to a strong hot chocolate culture in Japan, and
Oh.
it is very popular there. It is not drunk with milk as we know it, for example, in Europe. It is drunk with hot water, and it has some kind of local flavor because there is, for example, so-called miso hot chocolate. So this fermented soybean paste is added to this chocolate to make it very Asia specific, Japan specific actually.
Ooh, that is so interesting. That sounds delicious. All right. I'm going to have to see if I can import some of that over here. So, Anna, what did you discover in terms of seasonality? Is the trade in cocoa seasonal?
Yes, it is. We studied the monthly data of the top importer of chocolate, the USA, from 2017 to 2023. And every year, the peak of the import value, reaching millions of dollars, was seen in October, November. So it illustrated the growing demand for chocolate products before the winter holiday season and possibly also Valentine's Day. And in the USA, it accounted for 32 of annual value in dollars, so almost 1/3. So this is a huge peak.
Wow.
Very similar seasonality with peaks in October, November each year was also observed in Germany as well as in the European Union countries as a whole.
The winter holiday season and Valentine's Day are also popular seasons for other categories of sweets, right, Agnieszka?
Yes, yes, yes. If we are looking at the sugar confectionery and the end of the year is approaching, if you look at the chart of flows of sugar confectionery to United States, it is growing in the autumn. So it may be a holiday season, Valentine's, but maybe also something to sweeten the gloomer days that are coming in the winter. I myself like to cheer myself up with something sweet when the days are becoming shorter. Also, if you are looking at the export side, Germany is sending more jelly beans to the world in the quarter three of each year. So it seems that they do want to cheer us up with that.
Nice. I know in the United States, at least, Easter is a popular time for chocolate and sweets. And as we're recording this, we're about a month out from Easter. The store shelves are already stocked with many different types of sweets and chocolates. So
Yeah, yeah.
we still have a a bit of a peak going on here. How about in Poland? Is it the same?
It is completely the same. The marzipan that we were mentioning recently, yeah, it is fully stocked with marzipan, especially on the Easter holiday. And I think that it is all that came to Poland or was produced in Poland. As we know already, the production in Poland of those sweets is quite high. So what was created in Q3 and Q4 at the end of the year and wasn't eaten in the Christmas season right now is stocked on our shelves in the shops.
Maybe I'll need to make a trip to Poland as well.
Yeah, welcome.
So, Anna, you also look into the future in the report. You mentioned earlier the forecast. So, what is our forecast for total trade in cocoa and its various preparations?
Yes, so the total trade in cocoa and cocoa preparation is forecast to grow, and it is forecast to grow significantly between 2024 and 2040. It is 57% growth, and the annual growth rate is 3%. In 2040, Ivory Coast is forecast to remain the main cocoa preparation exporter, while the Netherlands will remain the top importer. However, what's worth noticing, the volume of cocoa trade is going to be, and it is as of now, far larger than the volume of sugar confectionery trade and coffee trade. So typically 40% larger volume than coffee trade and 65% larger volume than sugar confectionery. So that's a large industry.
Yes, larger than coffee. Wow. Coffee is something else that I love. So maybe we'll have to schedule another episode to talk about the coffee trade.
Yes.
We have had a lot of fun talking about the trade narrative for cocoa and chocolate. The trade data really can be used to tell some compelling stories, as you've shared with us today. But what is the practical use of this kind of data? How might businesses use this data, Agnieszka?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we were speaking about the seasonality and the type of products that are produced by particular countries. So it can be used for planning inventories and foreseeing the busy seasons, as we could just see. For particular commodities, we can break it down even more than we were speaking in the questions before. So we can look at the particular country and particular type of sweets and see its history and what we are forecasting the trade flows between countries would be. We can be looking for particular suppliers because we have a full comparison of the supply that is available in the countries. We can look for buyers, but also it may be very useful for logistic companies where planning a particular fleet capacity to transport the sweets that we are craving. And of course, the forecast may be very useful in the cases like changes in trade, like the bans introduced, like the shifts in trade. We are including this in the trade analysis, and we are showing what happened to the trade recently. And for example, the sugar supply changed in the world significantly recently, and that would be mirrored in our analysis.
Lots of good use cases there. Very
Mhm.
important things for businesses to keep an eye on for sure. Well, I could talk to you both about chocolate and sweets and jelly beans all day, but we have come to the end of our discussion. So, any final thoughts for our listeners, Anna?
Yes, one of the final thoughts might be the fact that very recently cocoa prices have surged beyond $6.2 thousand dollars per ton, hitting an all-time high, and this fueled some concerns over crop conditions in West Africa because there were some high temperatures and insufficient rainfall on Ivory Coast. So we have to realize that the raw materials depend on climate conditions, and maybe it's time to stock up on chocolate.
You don't have to tell
And
me twice.
yes.
Uh,
Exactly. The same with sugar. We gave plenty of examples that caring for environment would help us to maintain the production of sugar and cocoa. So it's beneficial for everybody to keep the planet safe.
So then all that's left for me to do is to thank you both, Anna and Agnieszka, for sharing your insights with us and for making us all hungry. I'm going to go make myself a cup of cocoa right after this. And thanks to you all, our listeners, for tuning in. Please join us next week to learn more about the forces creating risks and opportunities for business in 2024.
Thank you for listening to the Economics and Country Risk podcast. Connect with us on LinkedIn and Twitter, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode.